Well, welcome. Welcome to the training that we're doing this month in regards to helping you figure out how to handle stress and how to get rid of stress. And sometimes stress can turn into trauma, just like they say that sometimes, like sadness can turn into depression. And so there's things that we can do to help relieve that stress and to help it not fester and get into our body and our organs and live there and create inflammation and create an illness. And so that's what I'm teaching today. It's kind of like the final of this mini health series that I did kind of all through February is teaching different aspects of how to take care of our health and happiness. So I just thought I'd kind of cover some of the things that we've talked about before. So I'm Jody Colegrove. Get started that way. All right. So I'm Jody Colegrove, and I help you figure out sorry. So I help you discover the root cause of your health issue. So you can finally figure out, okay, what's at the root cause of the symptoms I've been having? And they can be caused because of toxins. They can be caused because of pathogens. And again, like we're talking about today, the traumas and the stresses that kind of build up and we don't realize it's actually creating inflammation in our body. And so they're impacting your health. And then what I do is I introduce to you regenerative medicine things that I have found to be very helpful. And those are things like stem cells and redox signaling molecules. And that helps your body start to be able to thrive once you've gotten rid of all those things causing inflammation. Then you can kind of make it really thrive. And when that happens, then it's like, okay, now I've got my answers of what's been going on in my body. Now I have clarity on what I can do about it. And then I have the energy to be able to, take the steps I need to do in order to get my health back on track. And then it's like there's a sense of peace. I could live in peace knowing that I'm doing the things that are going to help my body be able to thrive and take care of itself. And then with that, then you can start headed in the right direction to try to get your health back on track. So you can get back the health that you have been wanting to, striving for, that God originally gave you, that you deserve. And so all those things are kind of all the keys on the pathway of getting your health back on track. So I appreciate you joining us today. And I've got this recording, and it's also on Facebook Live, so that people can listen to either way. And then I record it so that I can send it to people that are in Australia and then can't watch at our time, or in Europe. And so I send it on to people that have requested that. So appreciate you joining in today. So just kind of want to get started on where we have, during this mini health challenge that I did through the month of February, what we've discussed and the things that we learned. So first of all, we talked about making sure we have really good air quality. And that's not only on the outside of our houses and where we go and our workplaces, our car, but it's also the indoor air quality that we have inside of our homes. And so just making sure, being aware of what kind of things you come in contact in the outside world that could impact you. And those are things like, fertilizers and pesticides that may get sprayed on lawns and things like that. It may be, you have a power plant in your hometown that sometimes is a little smelly. So just being aware of how you can minimize those things. Then indoor air quality, the things that can really cause us to have issues are molds, air filters like plug-ins that add a lot of chemicals to our air. Believe it or not, even candles are basically a derivative of the chemical of like natural gas. And so therefore, you're actually burning that inside your house and with a smell. And so you're like kind of outgassing yourself with chemicals. And so it's good to have something that doesn't have those chemicals in it if you're going to burn candles. So that's kind of the quality of air. The next thing we talked about is water. We want to make sure that we have good water that we're replenishing our body with. Our body's made with what they say, like 70% water, and so we want to make sure that we're giving it a good source to try to flush all that bad toxins and things out. And so I talked about different ways that you can have really good air filter or water filters in your house, how to make sure to see, drink enough water so that we have enough throughout the day. So those are some of the things we talked about there. We talked about exercise. You know, sometimes it's hard to kind of be on an exercise routine that you really enjoy. And it's important to find out what you really like, because then you'll do it more often. And so understanding kind of like whether you like being with people, so therefore you may like exercise classes. Maybe you like to be in nature, and so you know, doing more hiking or walking. You know, I think it's interesting because this time of year, I love to walk outside, but it's kind of dark still in the mornings, and so I can't see all the spring flowers blooming. And I always surprise myself on a Friday or on a Saturday on the weekends when I go a little bit later after I slept in, and I notice all these spring flowers I've been missing in the morning. So it kind of creeps up on you. But just being aware to exercise and do something that really nourishes you. And then finding exercises like Pilates that helps really strengthen the body, but also lengthen the body. Things, making sure that you're doing an exercise that's not increasing your cortisol too much as you get into menopause, so you're actually putting on weight instead of taking it off. So it's really important not to stress your body too much when that happens. So that's what we talked about, exercise. Then we talked about, okay, what to eat. And so, you know, talking about how our wheat supply is kind of been compromised with a lot of glyphosate and extra chemicals in it. And so therefore it's not really doing a benefit to our body. And we talked about, you know, different things that'd be helpful to stay off of, because it may create a fungal infection in the body. And so just being aware of what you eat and what you put in your body really does impact you. It can impact your neurotransmitters, and those are your moods. So you have neurotransmitters in the brain and also in the gut. And so when you eat things that impact you, a lot of times you get, you know, angry and frustrated. My son was home this last week, and I noticed that he was very angry, and sure enough, he had a fungal infection in his gut. And so we cleaned him up while he was here this last weekend, and he surprisingly got a lot happier. So it's nice when your teenagers are happier. All right, then talking about emotions. So emotions is the other thing. In other words, we have a plethora of emotions that we have. And sometimes we have to almost learn to check in with ourselves, to know what is our emotions that we're having and why are they impacting us, whether it's a situation or a person in our life. And we don't realize that sometimes they're stuck in our system and our tissue, and we need to get them out so they're no longer causing an inflammation in our body. So that's why we talked about emotions and kind of being aware of that. And I just have a skill of being able to kind of keep my fingers on the pulse of how my clients are doing and know how to pull them out of the emotions that they have, so that it's no longer derailing them and they can get their health back. So, all right, so that's kind of what we've talked about so far. So today we're talking about stress and how stress can basically increase the inflammation in our body. And so, like I said, stress, sometimes if it gets too much, it turns into trauma. Just like if you have sadness, it gets too much, you turn into depression. And so sometimes that's why it's important to identify, hey, this is starting to cause some issues in my life. How can I get rid of this? Just want to make sure I'm on track here. Okay. All right. So I want to share with you a story. So like I mentioned, stress sometimes doesn't have to be something big, okay? And sometimes it is, but stress can be having to always go down a certain road that has a lot of traffic. It could be that you are having to deal with the news you're watching. It could be that you can't deal with a certain situation at work. And then it could be the big things like having to have to deal with a friend that's committed suicide or a divorce situation. So there's a numerous things that will have traumas or stress in our life. And like I said, if it goes too long, then it can be more of a trauma. So we're trying to identify, okay, what are the things that are causing us stress? So one thing in my own life recently is that I had to drive a 24-foot boat through Dallas metro area. And it's I would say it's a trauma. I mean, it seems like it's not a lot, but the amount of anxiety I had to try to do that and get through it. I mean, I was white knuckling it. And so um, there's just some things that kind of scare you. And what I'm noticing is because I've done that, sometimes when I have to do something big like that again, I kind of have that, and I can feel that the stress or the anxiety is hitting me. And it's like, okay, it's a different situation, but sometimes it kind of creates the same thing. So another way to give the example of that is sometimes that we have been in a car wreck on a certain stretch of road. If we have to drive that road again, when we drive it, our body's going to do that, and we just kind of get that little bit of anxiety in having to go down that road because remember all of the instances or what we saw, what we heard, what we had felt when we lived through on that road. And so it's almost like as we live that road again, we're experiencing that same kind of trauma. So maybe me getting in a car and having to go someplace, it kind of reminds me of having to drive that boat. So that's a small example, but that's when something can start continuing and go a little bit longer than you want it to and can cause you some issues when it gets stuck in your body. So I want to read you something that kind of talks about what happens with stress and trauma when we have them in our life. So stress, anxiety, and trauma is creating a physical and a non-physical response in the body. Trauma overwhelms that nervous system and its capacity to process the experience. So that's a good example, just we explain that. So the pieces of that experience are left unprocessed, frozen behind in both the brain and in the body. And anytime a flow of energy goes through those same areas, like driving the same road again, the person will experience that trauma symptom again, right? So that's kind of what happens with stress, anxiety, and trauma. And so again, you mentioned the road about driving down the same road. So our bodies hold on to the pattern of that trauma. And when we deal with those traumas and take care of them and don't let them fester and continue, then we as human beings become a lot more resilient because we're learning how to get over a situation and get through it and get to the other side. And we can look back and go, yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. And that's an important place to be because then we can face the next thing that comes along and we can draw on that great feeling of, hey, I can do this and I can take care of this because I've done it before. All right. So what I want to do today is I want to give you a practice that you can do in order to help you start reducing the stresses and the anxiety and the emotional issues and pain that you have in your own life and the traumas. So I'm giving you a tool that you'll be able to use when you notice that these things kind of get stuck in your body. So I want you to think about a stress or an anxiety, an emotional issue that causes some pain or some trauma in your life. It could be going through or getting out of or going to court for a traffic accident or for a traffic accident or a ticket. It could be arriving on the scene of an accident. It could be an argument that you had with your husband. It could be angry words that you had with your child or your teenager. It could be a situation at work or an angry customer or a negative email that you received. It could be the death of a family member or a pet. It could be 2020 and everything that happened with that. All right. So I want you to pick a trauma that you are dealing with today. Okay. And once you have it, I just want you to, it's always helpful to, to let me know you have it, but I'm sure that you'll walk with me to do this. So just get a clear picture of the circumstance and the way you're feeling with that situation. And then what I want you to do is I want you to give it on a scale from 1 to 10 on how intense it is. If it's really intense and it's almost like hard to think about it, it's a 10. If it's like, yeah, but I got through it, I'm pretty okay, then you're kind of a 2. Okay, so I want you to be able to let me know what that scale is. And so I am going to, let's see, I am going to turn on the chat. And so I think it's important that you let me know that you do have a situation that you're thinking of, and that I need to know what your numbers are. All right. So one, if you could put in the chat what your number is on a scale from 1 to 10 on that emotion or the stress you have. Okay, so we have a 9. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So I want you to follow along with me. Now I'm going to do this without the chart so you can see where I'm touching. Okay, and then I'm going to go and kind of show the chart. Okay. All right, so once we get a 9, so we know we have a 9, and now it's important that I do mine too. So I'm just thinking about the situation. Okay, so mine is about a 7 that I'm thinking of. Okay, right, so I'm saying, okay, so first we're going to do is we're going to do tapping, and we start at the top of the eyebrow. Okay, so we're going to tap at the top of the eyebrow, and then we're going to do index finger. Then we're going to do little finger. We're going to do side of hand. And then start the eyebrow, the under the eye, the middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, and then under the arm, and collarbone. I had somebody this weekend that he had gone to the funeral of his grandmother, and so I was teaching him the secrets. And I mean, he did it like twice. I did so much better. It was really neat. So really cool. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the points that I am using. And that way, I think you have. I think you can see me at the same time, but just if not, you've kind of got the points, and you've got the points indicating there of what we're looking at. Okay, so we have, so again, just checking in with what that thing is, what your emotion is, and what you're feeling in the situation. And we do eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, start of the eyebrow, under the eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside the eye, armpit, or I say underarm. It's more down here, okay? And then on collarbone. And again, eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under the eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of the eye, under the arm, and collarbone. Okay, and just take a deep breath. And just check it in with yourself and say, okay, you know, I had that situation at a 9, and now I want to look and see, okay, where am I on that scale? All right, if I think about that for me, I'm at about a 4, so I've dropped quite a bit. Let's see. All right, so you're at a 2, so you really came down. That's great. Okay, let's just do another little round to just see if there's any more little aspects that we can kind of clear on that. Okay, so again, start the eyebrow. Before I go on, sometimes you will find that you will think of a different aspect of the situation. So for an example, for me, thinking about, let's say, driving the car, you think about leaving your house and having to be responsible for getting this boat all the way through Dallas. Then you can maybe thinking about, your mind kind of shifts to a different picture. And I can picture the semis on either side of me, like whizzing by, and me just like trying to stay within my lane as they've got all the traffic lanes during construction weaving in, you know, it's like you're supposed to follow this It's a mess. So you follow this way through, and then the semis are going through. That's a different picture, if you can remember, of me just, okay, I got this big boat behind me and I'm trying to leave the house, and I know I've got this road in front of me. So it's a different aspect of it. So you might, as you're thinking about, okay, maybe there's a different aspect. And so sometimes your number may go from a 2 going back up again. Okay. All right. So just kind of thinking about where we are with those different aspects that have come up. I'm still at a 4, okay? And so you might have changed a little bit on that. But let's go ahead now. So eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under the eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside the eye, armpit, or underarm, sorry, collarbone. And do it again. Eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under the eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside the eye, under the arm, and collarbone. Okay. So again, just kind of checking in and seeing if there's, want to make sure that if like we're streaming, if we've got any questions that come in. Okay, so all right, so just again, just taking a nice deep breath and just seeing kind of where you are with that emotion. Okay, great. So I have some people that are tuning in on Facebook. So I'm just kind of reading through those as we're kind of taking that breath there. Great. Okay. All right. So just kind of checking in and seeing where you are with that emotion. I still have a little bit of angst on mine. And so there's still something that's kind of coming up that I am feeling, and it must be a different aspect of it. I think like an example would be for like me is having the responsibility of having to get this boat to its final destination, and me doing it alone, and me having to make sure I'm responsible for the boat being okay when I get there. And so all that kind of like responsibility in some ways on my shoulders, like weighing on me. Okay, so you can see how that's a different aspect of it that's coming up. So let's go ahead and just have you think about if there's a different aspect or a different part of what you're dealing with that's coming up that you want to address. Okay, all right, so yeah, we've got a 2 or 3. So let's go ahead and tap again through that. Okay. Check here. All right, so eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under the eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside the eye, under the arm, and collarbone. Okay, again, eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under the eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside the eye, under the arm, and collarbone. All right, so I noticed a huge release kind of like somewhere right after I did the second round of that. So it's just being aware of how it releases and how it lets go, and just not feeling that weight anymore. All right, so I want you to check in with you and just kind of see, you know, how your numbers are doing and whether it's gone down. So I'll just check in with that. Let me know how it's going on that. So this is an example of how we use kind of the tapping and the different techniques we have in order to help clear toxins. So how we clear toxins and get to the root cause of health issues. So great. So we have someone down here to 2. We have a 1, 2. Great. And we like to see it right around 2 and lower is kind of where we try to know that it's almost resolved. And sometimes there's just a little residual that happens. But that's really a good number to kind of go to. I knew even though I was a 2, I could tell I had some stuff. So that's why I wanted to do that second round on that. So I'll give it just a couple more ideas. Let me stop the share on this. There we go. So there are some other ways that we can help clear things like this at a little bit deeper level, because sometimes we have those traumas that kind of stay on. And so we have other tapping points that we can take you through to help clear that. If it's more of a deep trauma and what I love about the treatment and the technique that I do is that you don't have to relive the trauma, okay? So you notice I just have you touch a couple things. We don't have to like walk you through each aspect of what you're doing or tell the whole story, because we find that in the moment is where you heal. Going back and rehashing the story is not where you heal. So we try to heal in the moment. And that's what this kind of technique does. So sometimes if there's a deep trauma that you may not be aware that you have it, or that it's really impacting your life, what we do is we have a series of questions we can ask. We can ask, what was your age? Who was involved? We can ask if there's, food involved or an inhalant, because like we talked about the different food and waters like that. Is there a different toxin that's involved in that? And sometimes we just put together almost like just maybe 4 or 5 things. And the body, it's almost like, oh yeah, I keep it in that file over there. And so once we have just a couple things, we can almost like attach that file and get it to go away. So we don't have to relive exactly what the circumstance was and things like that, and almost like re-traumatize you in order to clear it. And that's what I love best about this particular technique, because it's quantum techniques. And so we're using quantum physics, going in space and time to be able to solve the issue. So that's kind of why the name. All right, so what we can do is if something is really stuck, we can also touch lots of different points that kind of help the body clear it at a deeper level. Another one that I think is really fascinating is that sometimes you think about maybe you have like a sore place on your head or like a little bit of a headache sometimes. And sometimes I get one like right here. And so if I have a headache that's not going away, sometimes the headache is there because your body doesn't want to deal with something outside in the environment. So it gets you something to distract you. Okay. So headaches are a distraction. So we can kind of shut down, tune out. It's almost like sometimes when as moms, we're taking care of everybody else and then we get sick and it's like, oh, well, I guess I have to take a rest day. And it was really we need to do it, choosing to do it ourselves, but our body does it for us because we push it too much. So if you have a headache, something like that, sometimes you can kind of touch that point and just kind of focus in on that. And you'll be amazed that sometimes an emotion will come to mind. It's like, I'm feeling lonely, or I'm upset, or I'm angry. And so it's just one of those things I've been amazed at when I tried that several times, especially with me and with clients, is that you really can't come up with the emotion that your body's like holding on in that area and making it sore or weak or hurting. And so, like I said, that's something that I've just developed a talent for being able to detect what you're dealing with and how to minimize it and let it go. So that's a way to do that. So this is an example, and this technique is an example of how we clear frequencies like bacteria and toxins or mold or foods that you've eaten that have been bad or inhalants. that's kind of stuck in your body, in your tissue, and in your kind of in your energy field that's not allowing it to get well. And so the body, when it's stuck like that, then sometimes it's like disconnected, and the body's like, okay, I don't know, didn't realize the liver was there, didn't realize the bladder was having an issue. And so it's almost like the body's not connected. And so we reconnect the body so it can be on track with its own divine healing intelligence so it can heal. And we believe God created the body to heal itself. But sometimes there's so many toxins in our world that it just kind of gets overwhelmed, and we have too much inflammation. And so the body doesn't really kind of know what to do with that. So that's what we do, is we clear out what those toxins are. We get it to reconnect. We help the body detox so the body can then live in a healing state. So I like to open it up for questions and see if anybody has a questions about some things that I've talked about. I'll kind of check in on Facebook here. So Catherine, you're saying that yes, it's very true. I'm talking about how those emotions are stuck in our body. So thank you for listening today. And so if there's any other questions, you're certainly welcome to raise your hand, and you can go off mute if you have a question. And I've taken people through this technique quite a bit to try to help them clear the different toxins and pathogens and emotions that get stuck. And it's amazing how much, let's say, lighter that you feel when you kind of let it go and not keep them all stuck up. And sometimes it's hard. I mean, sometimes people, it's like you kind of hold on to our stuff because we understand it, versus going out and understanding what the unknown is. You know, if you have, let's say, you kind of labeled yourself as like, well, I always have headaches. If you let go of that, then it's like, well, what's life going to be like? You don't know. That's the unknown. And so sometimes getting well sometimes can be a little bit scary. And so we help walk you through that so that you're not so scary. Okay, so Catherine says that you do have a question on Zoom. I thought I put the what do you call it, the Zoom link above, and so see if I can post that real quick here. I think of how I can do that. Bear with me. The link is on my phone, so I'm not seeing the link on my computer. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's easy. Got it here. All right. All right, so there's the link for the Zoom, so you can get on Zoom. Great. Find my way back here. There we go. All right. So always a lot of buttons and things to do with technology, but it's pretty good. Okay, so some of the ladies, someone watching today says that when tapping, I switch hands a few times. Is it best to just use the same hand? It does not matter. You can use both hands. Whether you touch this side of the armpit or this side or this side or this side, even on this side, doesn't matter because they're both the same. So that's okay. So Catherine, yes, you had a question.
Am I on mute? Okay, no, I'm not.
No.
Thank you. I just happened to be able to catch this because I have a massive headache on like this side of my head. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just got on here and you started talking about headaches. So I was like, I never get headaches. And I got one so bad as I was putting my little boy to bed. I was reading him a story and it was like, oh, I'm gonna have to stop Buddy for a second because it's like piercing through, like you said, touch it. And I was like, okay, I'm touching it, but I don't know. It just still, I don't know. So I'm wondering, like, could you explain that a little bit more, like how you can, at least like your methodology of that, like how you can determine what's going on?
And I assume it's on the right side of your head.
Yeah, it's the right side of my head, like kind of right. It's like midline my head, and then it's over here to the right, straight down center of my head, like right here.
And you're also touching right here. Is that a?
Yeah, and it's irritating me, like in that behind my eye area a little bit.
So in the face or in the head, we have what they call cranial nerves. And so one of them is right here. And if that's has a virus, then you typically have a lot of sensitivity to inhalants. But there's also one on either side of the nose right here. And so I find a lot of times that when you want to press there, it's because it has something there. Okay. So and I do muscle testing, so it's really easy to say, do you have a virus? And I get a yes. Okay, so we're just being aware of, and just like I did that sequence for clearing a trauma, we have a sequence for a virus, a bacteria, that kind of stuff. So I can say, okay, we want to clear that virus from that area. Okay, it's kind of what we're doing. But it's also helpful for the body to see that it's there. And so I'll just kind of, since it's a live demonstration, I'll show you. So we just reconnect the body, making sure it's not in parasympathetic recovery. We have a lot of different points. So that's brain engines, cortical contacts. We have the sutures that are in the face. We have the cranial nerves, which I just talked about. We have the spinal segment. We have entry points that sometimes, like, let's say we smelled something, or that we touched the book that you were reading, and maybe the book had some bacteria on it. And so, you kind of touched your eyes. That happened to me, where I got something in the eye the other day. So we have those entry points that we're reconnecting. We have immune pathways. We have 25 of them. It's important that those are online. So those may be offline. So I just reconnect those. And it's just a matter of knowing what they are and reconnecting them. I do things fast. I look like I have Tourette's, but that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Then let's see. Then we have detox points and making sure those are online. We also have immune pathways. So it's our body's a way to get rid of like heavy metals, chemicals, make sure the immune system's online. So those are just different points. So I'm putting that back online too. And I'm trying to talk and remember at the same time. So it's like you have to flow. Let's see if there's something else I missed. I always like to put on neurotransmitters. All of the 8 areas of the sinuses and 8 areas of the urinary, they're a lot of times connected. So I clear those, and then the mucosal lining microbiome and making sure those are connected. And we just tap above the ears because that's just connecting left and right brain. Okay. So what I did is just a quick reconnection. That usually doesn't take me that long, but that's just what I do. Okay. So then from there, so we have a virus, we have a bacteria. So we just want to be aware, besides the cranial nerves, we also have a brain lymphatic system, just like our body has a lymph system. And we need that to drain well so that it doesn't get stuck. And so that's also usually with headaches is involved. You also have a vagus nerve in the back as part of that, which goes to like 9 different organs. And so we clear that. And it can also be impacting. So you said the right side. Right side is usually toxins, and left side is usually blood sugar issues with headaches. So we're dealing with the toxicities. That means the liver is involved. Think about the liver's on that side of the body also. Okay, so we want to think about that vagus nerve to liver and liver itself. Okay, so is there any other organs, glands, and tissues that are involved with this headache? Okay, so I get a no on that. Okay, so now we have the organs. We want to make sure they're connected, which they are. Okay. There's also, with our liver, it has a way of detoxing, and we have a code for that to help it detox better. And I discovered this when my son was young and he would have tantrums. And so he would be rolling on the floor, angry, frustrated, and I would do this release of these trauma sequences, and within 30 seconds, he would come out and say, "Mommy, I'm sorry." And it was just so profound to watch it, and then my husband would do the kind of, in some ways, the same thing, where he'd come from the job sites with lots of chemicals and, in construction, with paint thinners and that kind of stuff, and he'd be kind of a bear. And so I'd release the codes, and if he be happy again. And so it's really profound. So I'm going to release those codes to get the liver to get better. Okay. So it's just detox open. And then we have phase 1 of the liver, phase 2 of the liver. Then our emotions we hold in our liver. So we're clearing that. And then we're making sure that it doesn't like detox all at the same time. So we're making sure it's like softening it, not, overwhelming it. Okay. So we've cleared that. So we've really connected everything. So, and we know what organs are involved. And so then the next thing we do is find out, okay, what exactly is toxing the liver that we need to find out. Okay, so we know virus, bacteria. So there is an ingestant, okay? And a lot of times it's something you eat for dinner. Do you know what,
Probably.
what you have for dinner?
I did not eat well for dinner today, and I did not eat well all day today. Like I didn't eat really bad, but my norm, oh man, I did not do it. And so for like breakfast, I made great normal breakfast. I know I always eat if I eat breakfast. And then for lunch, I did not have anything. So I stopped at Aldi's and they had these like keto clusters and they were pumpkin seed and coconut flakes. And I have no idea what else is in them, but they said organic and they were like, I gotta eat something because I wasn't gonna be home all day. And I did not plan well today. And so I ate as many as I wanted as I drove, which is a terrible idea for me, especially. So I overate, I'm sure. I have no idea how many I ate. And I just ate and I never got full. And then I ate a handful of goldfish crackers. Terrible. I never eat those ever. And then at dinner time, I ate chicken Alfredo, which I would normally make with zucchini instead of noodles, like the noodles I would make for my family because they like noodles. I ate the noodles. I never eat that stuff. And now I'm like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
I feel really bad.
Yeah. So pretty much all of that was toxic. We had mold in the cluster things you were talking about. And then the glyphosate in the wheat for the spaghetti. And then obviously the crackers, that has a lot of glyphosate, and of course the dyes and stuff like that. Okay, so all that part of that. And that's okay, so that's a food. No inhalants, no contactants, and no injectants. So it's really a food toxin, which indicates why that's the left side, right side. Okay, so is that one? So what we ask is say, okay, with this headache, is that 100% of the terrain change that gave you a headache? And I get a yes. Okay, so we want to clear that off of that brain lymphatic system, and clear it off the cranial nerves, which is number 2. Not getting any other cranial nerves, vagus nerve to liver and liver. We need to clear it off of someplace else, something else. And I a lot of times close my eyes because it's kind of a healing modality. And I just kind of like check in with God and say, okay, where do you want me to go? And it's just, kind of thing. So a lot of times I do my healing just over the phone, but I can do it by Zoom too. Okay, so where else is it? Is it here, here? We have a whole chart of different organs, glands, and tissues. The other place it's in the cerebellum, which is the back of the head, and that carries a chemical balance in the body. And so that's off from the different things you ate. So we're going to clear that. Okay. So is there something else? Yeah. Okay. Something like this. So we cleared that, and then we're just clearing the virus part of that. Okay. There is a histamine response with this. And so there's one histamine that we're going to clear. We find a lot of times now that people have had, COVID or long haul COVID, however you received it through a shot or naturally, it creates a histamine reaction in the body. And so a lot of times things will impact you more than they should, or you're used to. And it's like, what's going on? It's that histamine that's been activated from the spike protein. And so we're clearing that also as part of that. Okay. So is there a non-physical component to this? So I don't really get that there's a lot of non-physical there, but I'm just kind of checking. Yeah, so I'm not getting that. So it's really just a toxicity. And sometimes I find if the toxicity doesn't go away, that's where touching those places will really help. Okay. All right. So once we've got everything, we know what it is, we've asked it to clear. Then I ask the body, okay, all those things I reconnected with, is it truly reconnecting? And I get a no, okay? So there's something else, which is the detox. Your body's detox way of doing it is offline, okay? So we're just clearing that, okay? All right, so now that's online. Okay, so then everything I did, and this is a little complicated, so thank you for everybody for listening. What I just did is I did everything that's the outside of the cell, but we know that the mitochondria in the cell is the way the cell processes, and it has to get rid of the toxins. So it has to flow in and flow out and clear those toxins. And so we test if that inside of the cell is not functioning well. Okay, and that's called a cell surface receptor. And so sure enough, it's not. And so try to keep it in language that's understandable. So I'm asking, okay, functional anti-headache factors is what we're asking. Okay, what's still keeping that stuck? Okay. And then all the organs, glands, and tissues I just talked about, we want to make sure that it's doing also. So like functional cranial nerve 2 and things like that, and livers like that. Okay, so how many things are getting in the way? We have one thing, and that's the mold. A lot of times I do find that mold headaches really do nail you. So we want to clear that mold off of those cell surface receptors. Okay. And then what we do, we just do a quick QT release that we found these different points that help the body let go. And so I'm just doing side of hand, and then we do a parasympathetic recovery. And then we're putting back on like all the brain engines, so medulla oblongata, cell memory, amygdala, hippocampus, pons, or motor, premotor, heart, and then limbic, thyroid, microbiome, and then, so anyway, so it's quite a few. I'm just kind of giving you a couple of examples, right? And then we just are asking that sometimes there's always a kind of a spiritual component of it, and so we're just asking that to leave if there's anything that's blocking it or wanting it to leave. So again, like you said, we're just clearing this so the bodies are touching the different points that we find you hold on to things. How is that feeling? A lot of times I'll yawn because it's energy transfer, or the oxygen is as the mitochondria is starting to catch in. So I'll yawn a lot because it's your body clearing, and it shows up on me. Sometimes it shows up on clients that they yawn.
So I'm trying to understand what you're doing. I know that sounds awful. Maybe I'm so far out, but are you tapping on you for me, or should I be tapping like you're
No, I'm
tapping?
actually, that's all, because yeah, I'm actually tapping on me for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen this before. I've heard of this
Yeah.
before.
Well, you probably heard of tapping or
Yeah.
and so
EF tapping out.
so we're a cousin of that. So Gary Craig went to school with my mentor, which is Steve Daniels. And so they learned together this technique. And then Gary did the same code for each person, doing, even though I have this headache, I deeply love and accept myself, and kept doing the same points. What my mentor did is said, okay, I have the same points, but I want to create a code specifically for each person I work with. And we really went down, I would say, the model of dealing with physical issues. So, whether it's IBS or, illness, all that kind of stuff. We do the non-physical too, but it's like we really do a lot of the more physical stuff.
That's awesome. So cool.
Yeah, it's really, I love it. I've been doing it for 18 years now. and it's interesting because it's all, remote. And so I've been doing all this remote stuff for 18 years. And now, the medical field is like, hey, we could do these remotely. I'm like, yeah, you can. So.
Yeah. It's
all
incredible.
Right. Thank you. Do you want to check in with you? How is that feeling?
Yes. It's feeling looser, like it's not as searing tense right there. Yeah, this is gone.
So there's an emotion that's stuck right there. Okay, so it's a non-physical. So is it an emotion, a frozen emotion? I'm sorry.
I have no idea.
Emotion, a frozen emotion, a blocking belief, a punishment. So it's an intention. Okay, so all right. Now, my phone has all the intentions on it, so I'm going to grab my book. So I have, let's see what that is. So intentions are like beliefs that we have, or it's like I call them life commandments, and it's like what we kind of live by. So let me see what that might be. So to control the future by suffering now. Okay, so you might be like having to deal with something that's coming up, and you may want to maybe avoid it a little bit. Does that ring true to you?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so, yeah, so we just want to say, okay, just identifying it in some ways will release it. So we're just, clearing that and being aware that that's where we're kind of holding that. Okay. Is there another intention? No. Okay. So again, I'm just going to clear that by letting that go. Again, I'm getting a yawn again. It's so funny. I'll be on the phone with people and I'll not even be tired. I'll just be yawning away. It's just the
I am exhausted. So you're probably yawning for me too.
exactly. Okay. How is that now?
It's good. Yeah. It's crazy.
But
Like,
that's
how have I not found you before? I did not know you did all this. I
yeah,
knew you, but I didn't know you.
yeah. Well, I've been loving your stuff too. So, but yeah, so
Crazy.
that's kind of what we do is we just find out, okay, well, what are the
Wow.
just different things that are making that issue being stuck in the body and in the energy field, or however you want to explain it, that just won't let it, go. And we don't have to relive anything. We just have to find out exactly what it is. Now, I didn't even know what that thing was that you were having to face, but your body knew, and so we're just identifying it to let it go. So it's almost like, just like deleting a file on the computer. Okay, we don't need to have that
Is
there.
it weird that suddenly, as you're saying that, it moved from this area of this eye to the center of this to the left eye? Is
No,
that weird?
because like I said, we have cranial nerves. We have one here. We have this side. Then we have our eyes have 4, 3, and 6. So a lot of times I'll have people look up, middle, and down. Then you have cranial nerve 5, which is like kind of like right here in the face. And then you have cranial nerve 7, which kind of wraps everything around. So if you have a lot of sinus issues, that's number 7 around here. Then you have 8 and 8B are in the ears. 7 is here, 12 is here. So if you have any kind of snoring or tightness of it's cranial nerve 12 right there. Then vagus nerve 10 is back here. 11 is here, and then 9 is here. And so a lot of times if I'll have a headache, sometimes, you shrug your shoulders, sometimes 9's involved because that's right near 10. So yeah, so it's all those, and each one of those, or the vagus nerve can be related to all different organs. So if you have a bladder infection, sometimes that will go, be tight. Okay, so we're gonna clear, it went to the left middle eye.
Yes.
So if I think about, cranial nerve 3, 4, and 6 are all involved. Okay. Okay. And so a lot of times with eye issues, we're also not wanting to see what we have to deal with. And so the fact that that was that intention. So we want to clear that intention of like, okay, I am a big girl. I can take care of this. I can see this. It's okay. All right. So let's go ahead and clear that. And then, yeah, I'm not getting it. It's more of a non-physical issue. It's not a physical. So we just clear it again. Another yawn. That one's bigger. Sometimes I just have to sit with it a while because I know when it clears. How is that feeling now?
It's good. It's getting better. I mean, it's still there a little bit.
Mhm.
And it's like seemingly strangely moving tiny little bits closer to my nose. Like, where are you going?
Yeah, the one that's straight out is not clear yet. So we want to ask,
Mhm.
what is that? External physical, external non-physical, internal physical, internal non-physical. Okay, the emotion, a frozen emotion, a emotion. So it's another intention. Let's see what has come up again. It's kind of like the aspect I was talking about before. Sometimes it does shift and change because we hold things for different reasons. So to avoid your emotions, okay, so we want to clear that. How is that for you now?
I don't want to even tell you because you're going to think I'm nuts. It's moved over here to this side now.
No, that's fine.
What is
It
going
moves
on?
around, so yeah.
That's so weird. I'm like, oh man, I was great. And like now it's not up here in this eye. Now it's in the center like it was over here, but this is gone.
No, that's exactly,
So,
and when I test it, muscle testing wise, that's exactly where it is, and so, yeah.
mm,
All right, so, but there's another non-physical, okay, so is it another intention? Yeah. To avoid judgment from self, others, or God. So whatever this issue that you're trying to deal with, it's like dealing with that judgment issue. That ring true. It sounds like your face seems like it does.
blown away right now. What is happening? Wow. Yeah.
All right, so let's just go ahead and clear them. Other big yawns coming up. Now this one, I can feel it hitting somewhere down in here. There's like a heart issue that's part of that. And sometimes I just feel like it's almost like I just kind of hold sacred space to let that leave, whatever, or to honor that you're feeling that in your heart and to let it go. This technique is not about me. It's just I've learned what questions to ask, what to be aware of. It's God's healing, and um, we just know how to kind of direct to clear it. Other big yawn. Other big yawn. There, exactly. Okay, how's that feeling now?
Good. I'm good. There's no pain in my eyes. I want to hug you through this phone. Thank you for taking the time to do that. And I'm blown away watching you. Like, whoa, you're incredible.
Thank you. I love doing this modality, and literally it is that fast. I mean, it's just like, you're like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. How do I clear that? And, I don't know exactly when we started, but it was probably what, 10-15 minutes,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for your time.
you don't have to take any medication. You don't have to take, it's just a matter of, because it's a fungal infection, or you got a fungal, and so it's kind of like it. I mean, and granted, I do take an aspirin if I just really can't,
Mhm.
things. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a place and time, and sometimes you need that, but it helps to know exactly what it is and clear it and get to that root cause so that it can let go.
It's
Well,
incredible.
we did a couple things here, questions have come in. Well, I can keep you on. Sometimes, a lot of times you'll keep unwrapping, and so you'll keep yawning sometimes. So we have a question here that says, I have inflammation. Would you help find the source in my body? Okay. So can you clarify a little bit, in the name is CS, about where, I mean, you're wanting to know where the inflammation is, but it's like, what is the symptom? Do you have, like, say, bloating in your stomach? Do you have, you can't close your hands? Are your joints hurt? I kind of need a little bit more where you're thinking that inflammation is, or how you're experiencing that inflammation. Maybe the best way to put that. So if you could help me with that, that'd be great. And you see, we got a lot more questions coming. Like, this thing doesn't move through. So, now did you? Nope, that was okay. So. All right, so Regina's watching, great. Carol Scott's watching, great to see you guys there. Okay, so going back to the inflammation question. Says, sure, I actually have a long COVID, okay, and fatigue and shortness of breath. Okay. So yeah, what we found, and I'm going to give you an example for myself, okay, because the long haul COVID thing, we really have been working on exactly what's happening. And I've already mentioned that it's really a histamine reaction that the body's not able to let go of. And so we're finding where that is. And so we kind of found like that it moves throughout the body for where your past issues have been. So if you've had Epstein-Barr, it's going to inflame that. Let's say you had a back issue at some point, it's going to inflame that. Let's say you had a wrist, break or a hurt, it may inflame that. And it just kind of randomly goes there, and then it goes to the back, and then it goes to the digestion. You're like, dude, this is enough, But it's like it's rotating through the body almost to like reveal there's a problem. And then so you can work on it to get rid of it. Luckily we know how to get rid of it, but that's what we found. What we're kind of finding now as part of that is that sometimes those are stuck in the system as like a combination. So like for my most stressful place is my digestive system. And so unfortunately, like 2 weeks ago, I left out some turkey. I had left out some turkey to defrost on the counter. And just because of what I can do, I put it in some soup, and then I later got a gut ache. Well, I found that I had left out it to defrost on the counter 15 minutes too long, and I got some salmonella. So it started salmonella poisoning. And so that's what bothered my stomach. Cleared that. Then I had some chicken that my son had at his dorm room that he brought home that I thought was fine. Didn't muscle test it ahead of time. Shouldn't do that. And so sure enough, I got a hold of some chicken that had not only mold, but bacteria on it. And so it really messed up my digestion, and gave me some, just kind of some bad gas. And so, okay, so what am I supposed to do with that? Well, then I've cleared it, but it's almost like because digestion is my weak spot and that histamine is there, it's like it had a hard time clearing, like I normally could do very, very easily. And so we cleared like the combination field. In other words, what COVID is a lot of times 10 viruses, 10 bacteria, and are combined together. So if we just say, I need to clear a virus or a bacteria, the body can't see it because it's not that. It's almost like if you can say I have a glass of water, but you have a glass of water with actually some lemon in it. And so your body is kind of literal. And so it takes it and said, well, I know this is a glass of water, but what you have over here, I don't know what that is. Well, it's water with lemon. So we have to be sometimes really specific on what we're asking it to clear. Sometimes it doesn't. So it's kind of like this one of the things that we've learned how to figure out. So that combination field and whatever was in with that COVID strain that you got, we cleared that. So to go to this person's question, that's what we need to find is like, okay, with your symptoms you're having, is that long haul COVID combination field bothering that area and creating a histamine response that the body's just not getting rid of? And so once we identify what that combination is, then the body can let it go and get rid of the symptoms. And so that could be, like I said, the shortness of breath. It could be the fatigue. Fatigue is usually a lot of the neurotransmitters. So ATP, which is your energy of your cells, sometimes that can be dinged. It could be the adrenals, which makes you really tired if they're not functioning really well. So a lot of times fatigue comes from that. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep because your pituitary is off, or some other part of not sleeping well. So those are all the things that we would look at in dealing with that inflammation and where that main problem is. So hopefully that is a good, helpful on answering the question. So if you have more, so great, we had a great discussion and questions. So thank you, kind of helped understand a little bit about what I do. I'm gonna put get it back to. So if you guys have more questions, I'm going to leave my email address so you can in the chat, so you can send me an email with other questions. And then if you would like a copy of this trauma sequence, you can leave your email in the chat, and so I can send that to you, so you can have that, so that when you are in a trauma situation, you can do the tapping sequence to let go of that issue. Or a lot of times people do take different issues that they've had, and they said, okay, I want to clear these, and so you can make a list and then kind of go down and clear those as you go through. Yes, you're welcome, Catherine. So it's a trauma sequence, and then also I have a video on how to keep boundaries, which is kind of like you're helping yourself be able to not take on too many people's energy or give away too much of your energy. And so I have a good tapping sequence to help with that. So that's something I could send you also. So if you're wanting both the tapping or you're wanting the trauma sequence, let me know. And you can send me an email also at the jody@quantumtechniques.com for those also. So I'd love to connect more. I have my Facebook group, which is Holistic Health for Christians. I'm talking about tapping, I'll get it right, tapping, toxins, and trauma, and helping your body clear those so that you can have your health and happiness back. I also have a YouTube channel that I cover a million topics. I'm always amazed. I'm like, oh, I did a video on that at some point. And so someone asked me today, oh, do you have a video that explains how to do muscle testing? And sure enough, I found it. So I sent it to her. So it carries a lot of subjects in there, from that to hormones and digestion and how to have safe travels. It even talks about how to get stains out of your clothes with the least amount of toxins too. So it goes from everywhere. Cleaning out your washer and dryer, everything. So again, I'm a holistic health coach, and I help you discover that root cause of your health issue, so you can clear toxins and the pathogens and traumas that are impacting your health. And then I reintroduce, when you're ready, some of those regenerative medicine things that really help, which is stem cells and redox signaling molecules, and that helps your body be able to thrive. And just because, Catherine, I know you know the patches, right? Yeah. What I find is what I do, like clearing the toxins, what it does is it extends your body's ability to my treatments longer, so that the toxins don't stick. So you may become in contact with them, but they don't stay. Your body's able to handle them and get rid of them. So it makes my treatments last longer, and that's why I love them. So just thought it'd be a great way to explain that. But anyway, when you've cleared all that, and then you have the ability to be able to thrive, then that's when you can have answers on, okay, what's going on in my body? Why do I have this headache? Why do I have this inflammation? Why is long haul COVID a thing? And then you can have clarity on what to do, taking the steps to do to get rid of that, and then have energy so that, yeah, I can feel better. I can go on and read, have your evening back instead of being go to bed. And that way you have your health back. You're headed in the right direction, so you can get your health back what you want. So I've given you just kind of a taste of kind of what I do, and just a couple examples of this kind of the simple stuff and how to get rid of toxins. And I've walked you through with Catherine just a little bit of way of how I clear something. And that's what I'd love to do for all of you. And so the best way to do that is we have a treatment that we do with you for 60 minutes for $300 that helps you find out what your issue is, helps you solve that inflammation, helps you find out, why is this a long haul COVID not getting out of my body, finding out where those histamines are that are kind of tripping you up in your health. And so we offer that to you as a new client for 60 minutes for $300. And so if you want to sign up for those, for a treatment, there are kind of like intake forms that we need you to fill out so that we know what's going on in the body, what your symptoms are, so that we can really address and kind of see a whole picture of what's going on. So I'm going to attach that in the notes or the chat, so you have that link. You can always send me an email at the jody@quantumtechniques.com. I can give you that link to fill out those session requests. But it really helps us get a whole picture of what's going on. And sometimes people are like, I don't know why you're asking me this, but we can see a bigger picture and kind of really nail what's going on and help you with that. And so if you want more information about, what I know what I see, but I'm not quite understanding all that you do, I always offer a 15-minute, I say a virtual tea, and we kind of get together and say, okay, well, what is it that I do? And so I kind of can maybe explain a little bit more to you. So I'd love to, explain more if you have more questions on that. So I look forward to sharing more next month. I always do a free Zoom each month. Really kind of being led to work on hormonal issues, because I'm having to, and menopause, and how to clear toxins so you don't have as many hot flashes and you can sleep well, and really feel more vibrant as a woman. And so I'm going to be trying to work on working on that for next month. So that's kind of next month's idea. So I look forward to everybody attending, and I appreciate everybody being here today. So great.
Thank you.
Yeah, just see if there's any more questions I have here. So yeah, okay, so tapping treatment, I'll give you, Catherine, I think you said you wanted some, and then also the CS that's watching, and then yeah, so Paige, you want some information too. Great. So
And listen, can I just say this, because you're incredible. Ladies, if you're watching and you just saw what she did, I'm feeling great. Like, I feel great right now. It works. Like $300. You just gave me like my headache. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much. Just took it away.
and be aware that that's just one session. And so a lot of times what I do, like when I'm doing the 60-minute session, I'm finding out what symptoms you have, and I'm giving you a big picture of like almost like a baseline of where to start. But like when you called and you said, I got a headache, I wanted this solved now. So that's all we do, is we just do 15 minutes. And so now we charge you by the minute. And so it's not that full expense. It's just whatever time we're on the phone for healing, whatever. And yeah, so
Cool.
even email me and text me and say, I've got a headache or I've got digestive issues, and I can solve them in 5 to 15 minutes. So yeah, it's quick.
Thank you.
I'm a lot cheaper than urgent care, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good night.
All right, sorry we went a little long tonight, but it was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, many blessings.